Hello there, welcome to Scott's PC. Let's see how my little income portfolio is doing. And we'll start off with the pie graph. I currently have 6 high-yield weekly ETFs, ULTY and XBY being my biggest positions. Then I have YET, NBII, TSYY, and MAGGI. And to complement these high-yield ETFs, I do have 2 growth funds, QQQ and BOO. I'm trying to make them about 20% of the portfolio to help balance out these high-yield ETFs. Right now I have a little margin account. I have $8,500 in cash. Right now I'm not in any margin. Lifetime of the portfolio, I'm up almost 3%. You can see my buying power there. And then down here you can see I just started on July 1st of this year. And here with this chart, you can see my monthly progress of high yield dividends. September's in the books, $461. And if we look at this screenshot here, my math jives with Robinhood's statement. There's the $461. And you can see year to date, I'm almost at $900 in dividends. And then for October, you can see I'm guesstimating about $516. And if you're new to this channel and the first time you've seen me, I've just started trading some options a few weeks ago. And so far for 2025, which is basically the last 3 weeks, I've made $143 of realized options income. Well, let's see how I'm getting this $516 for October. And there are the 6 high yield ETFs. We'll start with ULTY. ULTY has 5 paydays in October. I'm guesstimating about 8.5 cents, kind of lowballing it, I hope. And if you do that, they're going to pay about 42 cents for the month. With my position at 571 shares, about $243. Of course, all these positions are going to increase over the month. We look at my second biggest position, XBTY. You can see the 115 shares. They're going to pay 4 times this week, or $1.56. If they do that, I'll be getting $180. NBII, they're going to pay 4 times this week. I'm guesstimating about 28 cents per week, or $1.15 for the month. With my small amount of shares of 13, I'm going to get about $15. Yeah, I have about 15 shares. They have 5 paydays this month, and I'm estimating a little bit low at 38 cents per week. They do that, it's $1.75. I'll get $25 for the month. MAGGI, my smallest position, just a little bit over 5 shares. They have 4 paydays in October. I'm guesstimating about 38 cents a month, or $1.58 if you do that, about $8. And then my newest position, which I just opened up recently, TSYY. I currently have just about 50 shares. They have 4 paydays. I'm thinking about 22 cents per week, or 88 cents for the month. We do that, about $43. So you add up all these numbers, you're gonna get about $516. It's going to increase over the month, but this is where I'm getting this $516 for October. And here are the dividends that I made for the week of September 29th through October 3rd. The goal is income and to get paid daily. So you can see here are my positions on the left. In the red is the share count for each positions, and then what they paid per share, and then of course the dividend. If you add those all up, $119.16. I did have a little bit of help from BOO. They paid their quarterly dividend. I have a little bit over 1 share, so I almost got $2. So it looks like I'm getting at least $100 a week in distributions moving forward. And if we look at the very bottom here, I did take an options loss, an overall options loss of $54. I'll show that to you later in the video. All right, let's look at the portfolio review. This is for end of business, October 3rd, 2025, which was the Friday. You can see the $8,522. So for the day, I was just flat, basically, down $2.14, or 0.03%. For the past week, up 1.62%, or $135. For the past month, up just basically 4%, or $327. And then year to date, which I'm hitting now, is lifetime for this portfolio, up $244, or almost 3%. And there you can see my margin. Right now, I'm not in margin. I have about $45 of cash. I do have one options play open, which is requiring $1,500 of capital. It's a put option. And then you can see my margin maintenance, about 50%, or $4,200. And now let's start with my biggest position, ULTY. Right now it's sitting at $5.47. There's my average cost of $6.18 with 571 shares. So I'm close to 37% of the portfolio here. My total return, I'm down about 11%, or $400. And I've held ULTY now for 14 weeks. So I have 14 weeks of data. You look at the dividends paid here, I've been paid $580. So down 400, received $580 in dividends, up $180, so to speak. Again, I'm taking ULTY week by week, but I'm moving forward with it. And then next up is XBTY, my second biggest position, about 25% of the portfolio, 115 shares. You can see we're sitting at 1906 with XBTY. My average cost of $22.68. I'm down 16% or $416. This is supposed to be my favorite funds. So I don't know if the managers, they missed this week, but Bitcoin was sitting at about 110 and now it's pumped all the way up to over 120. I think it even hit 123, but XBTY did not pump. So I think they missed I think they sell puts to generate income. If I remember, I've been reading so many prospectus, but puts to generate income, I think they missed this week. So hopefully next week we can see this get a little bit more, or else I'm going to have to trim XBTY down or have a second look at it. And since this position is the second biggest position in the portfolio, you can see I've owned it for 9 weeks, been paid $269 in dividends, which does not even cover my total loss in XBTY. Again, we'll see what happens next week. Maybe I trim this down a little bit from 115 to 100 shares and see if I can get my money back over time. I don't know, but hopefully this catches up to the Bitcoin run that we just had. Okay, next up, NDII. This is what I want all my high yield ETFs to look like. It's a smaller position, 13 shares. You can see my average cost of $30.38. NDII is almost at $32. You can see I'm up 5% while receiving the dividends. A total return of 21 bucks. So this one is doing nicely. The yield's a little bit lower. It just depends on how Nvidia is doing. NDII, their number one goal is income, but they say close second or 1A is growth. So this is what we hope and pray all our high yield ETFs do. Spit out dividends and appreciate in price. Next up, yet another small position, just a little bit under 15 shares. There's my average cost of $29.12. Right now she's sitting at $27.28, down about 6% or $26. And then my smallest position is Maggie, just because it's so expensive. You can see they're at $56.50. My average cost $56.89. I'm down total return of about $2 or a little bit less than 1%. And then my newest position, TSYY. Tesla has been up and down this week, but you can see I just have a hair under 50 shares, an average cost of $8.36, a total return of about negative 2%, or I'm down about $7. And then to help these weekly high yield ETFs and to stabilize my small portfolio, I've dedicated 20% allotment to some growth funds. So I have VU and QQQ. We'll start off with VU. You can see I have about 1.37 shares, or about 850 bucks of value. You can see it is at 10% of the portfolio, up 3.37% or $27. Over time, VU should grow if we have a decent market, and that's going to help offset some NAV erosion or some depreciation of those high yield ETFs. And then I have the QQQ, 1.33 shares, about 800 bucks of market value. You can see it about 9.5%. So again, I want a total of 20% of my portfolio in these growth funds to support those high yield ETFs, up 4.4% or about $33. All right, and then I do a little bit of options, which started about 3 weeks ago. You know, I try and do some swing trades, but you can see the realized profit and loss from all of that for the past month. I'm up 126 bucks, but you look year to date, or basically the last 3 or so months, I'm up $28. But right now, my new shiny penny is playing with options, and you can see for this past week I took a $54 loss, and this is what happened this past week. It started off really good. I closed out a put position, made 50% or $42, but then Tesla, it really came down hard on Friday and it blew through my credit spread. So I had 2 credit spreads with a max loss of $84 each, so I took almost the full loss. I got out of this. If I would have held on to this one, I would have kept my $15 premium, so to speak, but I went ahead and closed it out to minimize what I thought was going to be a loss of $24. And then I did have an MSTU $4 put, which I rolled for a new premium. So all in all, it sucks to lose money, but at least I minimized it but I did lose $54 for the week. And again, been doing options for 3 weeks. If we look at the past month, which is all time for me, I'm up $143. So I'm going to take that in a positive light. And here's the option I have open for next week. I rolled my MSTU $4 put. I raised the strike price to $5. Got a decent premium of about $51. So I get to keep that, spend it however I want. The expiration's on next Friday. So I'm already up a little bit, but you know, strategy, Bitcoin. If Bitcoin keep on pumping, MSTU is going to keep on pumping. But it's hard to tell sometimes with Bitcoin and strategy if they're coupled right now, because for the past 4 or 5 weeks it seemed like they've been uncoupled. It didn't matter what Bitcoin did, strategy kind of did its own thing, but maybe it's back to following Bitcoin. So we'll see. If it comes down, I get a sign, I get to practice my covered calls. But anyway, I'm going to try and just keep rolling this one as long as strategy pumps. Of course, this follows its leverage 2x, so it's going to go up and down pretty quick. And there you have it. That's my small portfolio. Of course, none of this, absolutely none of this is financial advice. Folks, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.